Hello and welcome to Studio 12. Today we are going to talk about theosophy, explained in Wikipedia as a doctrine of religious philosophy and mysticism. Joining us today is Ms. Tran Thi Kim Diu, a chairperson of European Federation of Theosophical Society. Welcome. You have been traveling around the world and you also came to Slovenia to give a series of lectures. So the first question would be, what is the purpose of these lectures?
It is perhaps the most difficult question to get an answer. In fact, I have no purpose. You would say, how is it? Everyone would do something with a purpose. No, not in giving talks, because as I said a while ago, it is just a sharing. I'm not going to look at something or somebody, some aim, nothing. Because it is like very simple for me. When you have a good meal, you want to share with friends. You are not going to eat alone. Okay? So it is the sharing. Now, if you want to have a more poetic and less trivial as a food, as meal, I would say a flower with flower. You cannot say, why is it? For what purpose the flower? Flowers. It's just flower. Just flowers. So there's no purpose.
Okay, but during these lectures you are talking about theosophy. Could you briefly describe us the key concepts of theosophy, or trivial question, what is theosophy?
It is not easy to define theosophy. In fact, we can explain it through the Greek root etymology, theos and sophia. It is translated, I would say word by word, by the wisdom of the God or the divine wisdom. Because in the theosophical circle, we would avoid the term God. God generally implies a personal divinity, perhaps with all the drawbacks of the humans. And we would say divine because the term divine comes from the root div of Sanskrit, meaning shining, to shine. So theosophy, I would say, it is the love of the wisdom of the divine, meaning the wisdom that will illuminate the human consciousness and give way to humans and humanity to get out of the maze of suffering by ignorance.
Mm-hmm. And where does the theosophical teaching come from? What are the roots of theosophy?
It is an ageless wisdom. So you cannot give a datation to that. As many scriptures like the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Tao Te Ching, the commentaries of Patanjali's, etc. Some historians and some scholars would try to make out a datation of it. But you cannot find the origin of theosophy. The teaching takes its origin in the consciousness itself. Consciousness meaning, I would say, the one consciousness that is the divine. And theosophy comes then directly from the source of the divine because it is meant to illuminate the human mind. So coming to the ultimate source, it is the divine, wanting to manifest itself to show to men, women, meaning humanity, the way to get out and to evolve. Get out of what? As I said, get out of the maze of suffering, get out of the labyrinth of what to know, and turning round and round and round. So this is a very uplifting teaching where you don't need to believe because there is no dogma at all. You don't need to believe or practice in such a way and to follow a teacher, a guru, whatsoever, because you are the instructor of yourself. You are your own teacher. You will say, how can I teach myself? Of course, you can teach yourself. You cannot teach in the way that another person teaches you, but you can learn. And in the way of learning, it is the teaching. Because the teaching and the learning both go together. You cannot have a teacher without a student, a learner. When you learn the lesson, as I have said elsewhere, there are 3 sequences. First, you learn by observation. You learn and you apply what you have learned, and you have assimilated, you have understood. Because when you have understood something, and if you don't apply in your life, it is like you have not learned or you have not understood. So once understood, one has to apply what we have understood. And then the third step is to ask questions, to inquire, to go further, because learning is always moving, evolving. You cannot say, I have learned. No, because when you stop learning, you are finished. The whole process of evolution in the human consciousness is based on learning, experiencing, inquiring, and then coming back to inquiring, learning, experiencing, and it goes like that for the improvement, for the perfection, and would say because or thanks to the perfectibility of the human consciousness and consciousness, simply we can learn and we can evolve.
Mm-hmm. To what degree, to what extent would you say that we humans are applying theosophical concepts, teachings to our daily lives?
Those who have understood can apply or not apply. Now, I am interested with those who apply, because those who pretend to understand and do not apply, then there is a kind of fake understanding. Understanding means that you absolutely absorbed the essence, the quintessence of the teaching, and you live it, right? If you don't live it, so what? You cannot say, I have understood. So understanding means having assimilated intellectually and applying it in life. Now, of course, the proportion of humanity doing it is very, very little. Now, as I said also in another context, we cannot expect the theosophical teachings to be assimilated all of a sudden by the majority of humanity. It is impossible. Impossible. Why? The next question is why? Because it is so far ahead of the human understanding. And saying it, I am weighing my words. I don't want to give this impression to be fanatic. No, I am not saying that it is the best. It is, for the time being, the leading as to the field of the concept and the ideas and the thinking. It is in the leading step. So that it is like you see a locomotive. You see dragging all the coaches. So the locomotive, you don't need 100. But one locomotive can drag along 100 coaches. There is no judgment of value. It is just out of observation. I am sure that in some context you have experienced it. The same thinking, the same ideas. If you share it with a group of people, naturally you have a small number of people in this group who would understand it more easily than the others. It is more easily is not to compare. It is just an observation because you cannot deny the fact. They are facts. Okay? So, how many people apply? It does not matter. If the flower flowers and gives it for perfume, it does not ask to whom the perfume will go. If the sun shines, the sun does not ask to whom I am going to give the light, etc., etc. It is just the natural way of things. It is a process of nature and you cannot avoid it. And you don't take any advantage in it because you don't have any purpose in it.
Okay, let's us talk briefly about the role of Theosophical Society today, its purpose for the human society. You said the Theosophical teachings are far ahead for the majority of people.
Yes.
So the purpose of Theosophical Society would be linked to the human race or not?
Certainly, because you can find Theosophy at many places. The Theosophical Society is the house of Theosophy at the first place. But right from the beginning, when it was founded, after a certain time of wording, rewarding, and I would say improvement of the wording, finally the three objects came definitely. And the three objects, I will cite them to you. Those three objects work as a map for action. Now the first is to form a nucleus of brotherhood in humanity without any distinction of caste, sex, color, credo, etc., etc. No distinction. Now the second object is to study comparatively religions, philosophies, and science. It does not mean you compare the religions, you compare the science, and you compare the religions, science, philosophies. But the studies should be led in such a way that you will find out the essence of religion, the essence of philosophies, and the essence of science, and make them understand in such a way that they corroborate to point to truth. Then the third object is to explain and explore the hidden nature and the hidden powers in man. I mean human. I don't want to say that Theosophy is for just men and not for women, because sometimes we are critical, we are criticized by some very critical mind. How is it that you are against the feminists, etc.? No. Because man really comes from manas, it is the mind. And the mind is the characteristic of the humans, of humanity. So we say man because those who are endowed with the mind, meaning men and women, meaning humanity in whole. Yeah? So with the three objects, you can see in it that they form a kind of map for action. First, form this nucleus of brotherhood. Yes? A nucleus is never a big thing. Look at a cell biologically. Nucleus is just, 1%. But all in that is all the potentialities of the action and the survival of the cell. This is the sense of the nucleus. So this nucleus will never be the majority, because if it becomes the majority, then this will be no longer a nucleus. Okay? And then this is the first step, meaning that we have to learn to understand each other. I mean that you are, it is just an example. You are Muslim or you are Christian, say I'm a Buddhist. We are not going to stare at each other and just stay on our position and say, I am a Buddhist, you are a Muslim, the other one is a Christian, and we are not going to talk together. This time is now finished. Why? Because consciousness has evolved in the meantime. You cannot manipulate intelligent people. All the people who fell in this trap of religion, fanaticism, they are lacking of intelligence. Now, we are addressing intelligent people. As I look at the situation, what can we do? This is not tolerance. It is go to the core of the nature of every creature and on the first line of humans, to see that we came from one, and this source of the divine, and the source also of wisdom of Theosophy.
Okay, but wouldn't it be beneficial if these divine qualities wouldn't be adopted just by the small nucleus, but by the majority of our civilization?
Yes, I mean, it is a very, very big wish. And we are working this hope, if there is some hope to that at all. But as I said, this nucleus will be always a nucleus. Okay. It does not mean that you do not reach the majority, etc. I think it is a false question, because everyone wants to have it in the majority. Look at the majority. And you don't have any comment on it. Okay? Yeah. Humanity should work and learn to work together. What is the meaning of together? Together means that you have your qualities and your drawbacks, and I have my drawbacks and my qualities. We are not going to quarrel because I see and look at your drawbacks and you look at my drawbacks. We just say, here, we have the potentialities. Just sit together and work together, and don't look at the drawbacks at each other, but go and bring something new, positive in the future. This is the way I wish people to work. And Theosophy is helping to that. Why? Because it states out very loudly, very squarely, directly, that we are this same divine source. We are all divine. We are just sparks of the divine. And then, what is the difference then? Yes, because we are moving towards the returning point. We are moving. So we are more or less far or further or less, etc. But in the essence of things, we are one. And this is Theosophy is emphasizing very much on it. Mm-hmm. There is difference, there are differences only on the surface and on the superficial ways, and then on the appearance. You appear as a man, somebody appear as a woman, you have long hair, the other one has short hair, you have a name, you are European, the other one is Chinese, whatever. But then what? When you suffer, you suffer. The other one, when he or she suffers, he or she suffers. So what? Are we not enough intelligent to see that and then continuously to quarrel, to dispute out of trivialities and make war when it is not solved in due time? It will turn to be war. And war, everyone will pay the price of it. You are young, you have not seen the two wars. I was born in Vietnam, South Vietnam, so war I know.
Okay. War is not good,
so
right.
we're not going to go to that chapter, but we work in such a way that people should realize in the mind, in consciousness, what is the right thing to do.
How can we know that?
We have to learn. And first we learn, and then of course we make mistakes. We are human. So it is allowed to make mistakes, happily, fortunately. But it is not allowed to make the same mistakes all over. Because in this sense, there is no learning. When we learn, we have seen the mistakes, we do not reproduce them again.
There is a similar word to Theosophy. This is anthroposophy, which was developed by Rudolf Steiner, the founder of Waldorf education. What's the difference between two concepts?
Well, I can tell you a piece of history. Rudolf Steiner was at the time the General Secretary of the German section, meaning the president of the Theosophical Society in Germany. Now, there was a difference of opinion at that time, and he left the society and he took the section of Germany with him. This is one of the, I would say, one of the big schismas in the society. But it is all consigned in history. So he founded the Society of anthroposophy. Anthroposophy, as you can guess, anthropo and then Sophia instead of Theosophia. So he, in his mind, probably he would bring Theosophy nearer to the human mind. I don't know, it is my guess. Anyhow, we can judge only a work through the fruit of the word. I think that you have read it somewhere. So you can judge a tree out of the fruit. Now for many years, I mean that out of this schisma, the anthroposophical society evolved as any association, any collectivity of humans. They evolved and they did good work. They did very good work. You can find many the application of their thinking on the field of medicine, in the field of general welfare, etc. I'm not going to cite a label, a trademark, because it is not allowed on the images. And but you can find good, fine products. It is applied in the very restricted field. Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned quite a couple of times the word evolution. And in your opinion, does humanity really evolved right now? Looking at the present society state, we have so many skeptics which would argue that we can completely destroy the planet, therefore evolution might stop or have stopped. What's your opinion on that?
You see, very generally, we have a very linear mind, because we think that and about that, we take steps always horizontally. Steps are horizontal. Now, the human mind has to learn to move vertically, meaning leaving a plane to reason, to reflect, and try to find out what is hidden. What I am telling now, I don't want to give a wrong impression that the earth will take care of itself. No, I'm not saying that, okay? We have to take care of the earth because it is the mother of all. Geologically, she is the mother of all. Well, in some current of philosophy, it is called Gaia. It is really the mother who nourishes every creature, not only humanity, but all creatures, from the insect up to us, and perhaps more, we don't know, because we don't have the capacity of seeing beyond the appearance and beyond the visible. Now we have to take care of this Mother Earth, saying that it is a duty. Now, with it as a preamble, I just asked you the question. It is not a guess or a theory of mine. I want you to participate in this reflection. Many times, the earth has been threatened to disappear. And all the scientific will describe it, and then we are now at the risk of losing the planet. Earth has its own life. You say the volcanoes, the earthquakes, everything is kind of part of regulation of this life, geologically speaking. We cannot have an idea because our scale of time is just 100 years. We will die, so what? But on this scale, geological scale, the time is counted on millions and billions of years. So what? Now, there are many sides to the question. Some group of people will say, you be aware because you are destroying the earth. The other one is, no, the earth will react and then would say, heal itself by a natural process. the mind or the human mind has to learn to overcome and also transcend the opposites. Meaning, you are saying black, I am saying white, never we can come to the conclusion and to be in agreement. This mind has to uplift itself a little bit higher. Out of observation, experience, learning, intelligence, it can see how many times the earth has healed itself. Now, humanity, the human mind, has interfered in such a way that it worsened everything. Okay? We invented what God knows, waves and this and waves that and vibrations this and then even the atmosphere and the magnetism of the earth now is absolutely disturbed. Magnetically, you have holes in the whole magnetism of the earth. And people are thinking about the poles, magnetic poles moving. So, this is another question. But you can observe and you can say, humanity is very fragile. I don't know what will be the outcome of the earth. Might be it can heal itself. And it is all for the better. But I am not counting on this hope not to act. I have to act because it is the duty to save the earth. So I would act, but without this spirit of catastrophe. You see, because the mind is also very much attracted by catastrophe because it gives very strong emotions. When you act really with a little bit of intelligence and wisdom, you don't need emotion. You act quietly but very firmly. You know that might be the outcome will be that. Might be the outcome will be that. But in your position of today, the duty seems to your understanding and intelligence that you should act and just act.
I think you put this one really nicely, and we can conclude our show with this sentence. I thank you for your time and to join us in our studio. And for you, ladies and gentlemen, we wish you to take action and to explore life on your own. There is the way for your wisdom and for your creation. Thank you and goodbye.